Assalamu alaikum and peace. This is BilalMABIA, Muslim and Black in America. It's been a while. Um, like I said, people, I like to really let life happen. I like to think about things. I like to reflect. I like to read the Quran. I like to pray, and just ask Allah for guidance and just think about what's going on in the world before I just jump out there and make a video. I like to stay, abreast with the news and things happening within the black media and outside of the black media and all over the world and things of that nature. And let it really just rest on my mind and then come to my heart and then go back to my mind and just go like that, thinking back and forth, because I'm not here to just be dropping videos because I want subscribers. I'm not here to just be dropping videos because I want clout or attention. This is what I like to do. I like to teach. I like to educate. I like edutainment. I like to entertain as well as educate. I like giving whatever little knowledge I have, whatever little wisdom I have. I like to give that to the people. And whoever, will listen and can take something from it. You don't have to agree with everything I say, but if you could take something from it and it benefits your life, in this life or the next, then, alhamdulillah. But also, I just been busy at work, man. It's holiday season, and work is really booming. So I really didn't have time to really type up anything or record. So I'm finally getting a chance to record now, and I've been working on other broadcasts and working on other lectures that I'm doing too. So, it just takes some time to do these things, but alhamdulillah, everything's working out great. Hopefully everybody out there in the world who's listening, everything's going well for you all. And may Allah bless us in this life and the next. But there's a new series coming out on Netflix that I actually might watch just to see if they drop any clues. It's called Messiah. They dropped some trailers earlier this week about it. This series is basically telling the story of the coming of the Dajjal, of the Antichrist, and how he will sweep across the globe, gaining massive amounts of followers who think he is Jesus, son of Mary. And I'm sure they will end up thinking he is God in this series that's coming out. If you look through the comments of the trailer videos on YouTube, everyone knows that this show will be about the Antichrist or some form of Antichrist. Like I said, I'm going to watch it and see what type of clues they will drop on us, because these white supremacists who practice Satanism love to show you what they will do or want to do or are doing within their movies and TV shows. And I always wonder, why do the bad guys always tell the good guys what they're gonna do? But that's just what Satan does. It's just been like that from the beginning of time, and that's just been his habit. And so that's what his followers do. In the beginning, Satan told Allah what he was gonna do. He said, "I'm gonna lead your people astray, and you're not gonna find many of them grateful. Most of them are gonna be ungrateful, and most of them are gonna come to the hellfire. I'm gonna come at them from the left, from the right, from behind them, and I'm gonna try to lead them astray." So the Satan started that whole way of life of the bad guys, of them telling you basically what they're gonna do. And so that's why you have them doing this now. That's why you have people in these secret societies telling you things in plain sight. It's just the way of the Satan. But it will be interesting to watch. If you look in this show, how they spell Messiah, they spell it in all capital letters. And if you look how they did the letter A in the title of Messiah, they did it like a pyramid, but they did it like a complete pyramid. Really, some people say the letter A represents a pyramid as well, but that's a little too deep. But they represent this letter A in this Messiah show like a straight up pyramid that's complete. This means the work is complete, because the last piece, that last capstone on top of the pyramid, or the great work they are doing, has now come to them, has now come from the heavens and rested upon and finished this pyramid. This is what's represented on the back of your dollar bill. If you look on the back of your dollar bill, you'll see that there's a pyramid that's not finished, and it has the final capstone floating above it or coming down to it, and it has an illuminated eye inside of it. This represents the Antichrist, the Dajjal. These white supremacists who practice Satanism, and really it's just the ancient Babylonian mystery religion, which is Satanism. They're all the same. All these paganistic type, witchcraft type, they all go back to the ancient mystery Babylon religion, which is Satanism. And they have a God which is coming to them. And so these white supremacists who practice Satanism believe that once they have pretty much completed the setting, the work, all of the blueprint for their system, their global system, which to me is white supremacy, once they have built it up enough, their Messiah will finally come and complete the work that they've done, will head it up, will be the leader, will be the God. So it's interesting they use the pyramid for the letter A in the title of the show. But you know, they're going to make their own version of how Dajjal looks. So they're going to throw you off a little bit. And this is what amazes me. In their version, they got the Antichrist, the Dajjal, looking all GQ. You know, he's racially ambiguous in a way, but looks Middle Eastern. He has long, stringy hair. One of those GQ type light beards. But the real Antichrist won't look like that. See, all the prophets, when they came to their people, they taught them about the coming of the Antichrist and what to expect from him. So, first off, the major telltale sign of the Antichrist that our prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, peace be upon him, taught us, and that no other prophet taught us, is that the Dajjal will be blind in one of his eyes, and it will look like a floating grate, kind of like it's just shaking him in his eye socket. And his other eye, he will barely be able to see out of it as well. It will have a defect in it. It will have a thick film over it and will give it a look of green glass, and it will be bulging. Like, dude sound like he got super high blood pressures and diabetes all in one. But the prophet also describes his complexion, and it was just like I said in my previous broadcast. He's white. He's a ruddy white. White to the point of redness, like the people of North Finland. I'm getting this information from Bilal Phillips, who did a lecture on the Dajjal. And as I was saying, the religion of white supremacy will not accept a Messiah that isn't white. So I knew that the Dajjal, their God who's supposed to be coming to rule, their God is white. I knew it. That's who they built this whole system for. You know, for their God to finally come down and rule. This whole white supremacist system. And you know, what's crazy is, and that's why I know white supremacy is the greatest crime under the heavens. And I really honestly think that is what a lot is being talked about in the Quran when it comes to the Dajjal, when it comes to Juj and Yajuj, all of that. When it comes to the last days and the Mahdi, the promised one, coming to bring justice to the world. What is the greatest injustice in the world? It's white supremacy. But what's funny is that the Dajjal is white, but there are hadiths from the prophet that tell us that the prophet Jesus, he's black, or he's brown skin, and he has like locks, he has dreads basically. So the total difference in comparison is amazing. You got white supremacy on the one hand, and their God is white, like we always been saying, and he's coming to rule, which is going to be the Antichrist. And you got Jesus, who's going to come back and defeat the Antichrist, who was a very major prophet, and he's a black man. But let's continue. So I was describing the Dajjal, and also his forehead of the Antichrist. His forehead will be prominent, and his neck will be wide. He will be short and stout with a strong build, and his back will be slightly hunched. Basically, it sounds like Quasimodo. He will have very curly hair. And one deep point about him is that he will be sterile, having no children. This is deep to me because look at what's happening to the white race of the globe. They are becoming extinct. They are not having enough children. And over here in America, they are dying more than they are producing. You got the opiate crisis going on, drugs taking them out. And then when you shooting up drugs and passing around needles, that comes with STDs and AIDS, so that's taking them out as well. And then they say, I read an article, they're having deaths of despair because they feel like they're losing ground, so they feel despair, so they just have heart attacks and die. But the fact that the Dajjal will be sterile, this will definitely build an empathy with the white folk, with the white supremacists. And they'll be like, wow, he's just like us. He can't even have children, we're not having children. And some say that the Dajjal would be a homosexual. This would also fit right in line with the LGBT agenda. And I'm sure even if he isn't gay, he will still be in line with the LGBT agenda. I'm sure he will still be in line with that. So him, the Dajjal being sterile himself, these white supremacists are going to look at him like, yes, he's coming to save our dying race. Just in the nick of time. It amazes me how the people seeing this man with defective eyesight, a hunched over back, and they will accept him as God. That really blows my mind. But it does, but it doesn't, It really shows you the mentality of these white supremacists, and that it's one of illogicalness. Your God can't even see, but that's God to you. Your God can't even stand up straight, but that's God. Your God is a human being. You see what I'm saying? Like the illogicalness of the mind of white supremacists. If you were going to have a human God, a'udhu billah, wouldn't he have perfect eyesight? He would be perfect in every aspect. What's going on? So this shows you the mentality of white supremacists, and it's one of illogicalness. But illogicalness doesn't matter to them and those who follow them, because they have the power to make a lie look like the truth, and the power to make the truth look like a lie. And this is what the Antichrist will come with. The prophet, peace be upon him, said he will come with hellfire in one hand and paradise in the other hand. But his hellfire, the hellfire of the Antichrist, will really be paradise. And the paradise that he brings will really be the hellfire. The previews of this series show how he will be performing miracles and whatnot. And this was predicted by the prophet as well. He will perform miracles that Allah allows him to do, not of his own accord, not of his own power. And he will fool people into thinking that he raised people from the dead. And because of this, even though he has defective eyesight, even though he's hunched over, people will still see him as God. The prophet told us that when he arrives, he told the Muslims, don't come near him. Don't come near him thinking that he won't affect you. You know, because he can even lead those with the most iman, the most taqwa, the most strongest faith. He can even lead those type of people astray. So stay away from him. And this is where I'm going to take it on a tangent from this point and say that point that the prophet made about the Dajjal, about staying away from him or keeping your distance and not thinking that you have it all and that he's not going to be able to lead you astray. This is a lesson for you to realize that just because you're a Muslim and your taqwa, your piety is all high and you have all this knowledge and you know that that's the Dajjal over there, don't be too arrogant in your faith. Don't be too arrogant in your God consciousness and knowledge, because even the most pious can be led astray. I've told you the story about the um the scholar in the past. He was a very pious scholar, and he got led astray by Satan. He ended up sleeping with some woman, and he lied. He ended up sleeping with the woman, killed her, lied to her brothers about it. The brothers found out through a dream that he killed her and had sex with her. So they arrested him. And so when the scholar was about to get killed, Satan came to him and said, well, look, I got you in this mess and I can get you out of it. So the only way I can get you out of it is you have to bow down to me. And so this righteous, pious scholar, who went from being a righteous, pious scholar to committing fornication to committing murder, he says, okay, I'll bow down to you, Satan, so I can get out of this. And he bows down to Satan, and Satan laughed at him and ran away. And as soon as he ran away, that alleged pious scholar got his head chopped off. So don't think, even the most pious, they can be led astray. Even the most knowledgeable can be led astray. Always remain humble and ask Allah to keep you on point. We can see this lesson in the whole black empowerment and ADOS movement as well. And I agree that ADOS, which really should be DOAS, descendants of American slaves, I agree with them in the sense of that it's a lineage. You have a bloodline that goes back to the killing fields of the American South. You have a bloodline that goes back to chattel slavery. I agree with that point. We are a distinct ethnic group. I agree with that. But ADOS as an actual group, I think it's on some Black Lives Matter stuff. Like I was saying before, you know how Black Lives Matter, that was an organic movement that started. People were chanting that Black lives do indeed matter. But then it became an organization headed by D. Ray and that other Lizzo-shaped chick. And it just became totally something else. This is the same thing to me that's going on with ADOS. So I think, me personally, I think it's just a way to get black folk back on the plantation of voting again while receiving nothing, as well as to vote Democrat. It's a Trojan horse. They got us all on board with the lineage thing. And so since you think you're on board with the lineage thing, now they're telling you to do down ballot vote. I called this out when that New York Times article dropped. If you go back and check the archive video I did entitled "Division Has Begun," I talked about this, that I smell some agentism in the air. But see, people like them, the leaders of ADOS, Tone and Yvette, they like to use the data, or they like to say, oh, we've been to college. Oh, I have a degree. Look at this knowledge I have on the subject and all these articles I can post in my videos. That's great and well and good. You definitely want the knowledge to back up your talking points. But as I was saying about the Antichrist, don't think that just because you have all this knowledge that you cannot be led astray. And this is what happened. Many people, in the black empowerment sphere, the people were talking about no tangibles, no vote. But then I have all this knowledge and I have all this data, that crew started talking about voting down ballot and voting Democrat. Now you got a whole slew of black folk going right back to the polls when they was just on no tangibles, no vote. And anyone who speaks out about them and saying how this isn't a good idea, their response is, well, you don't know politics. You don't have the knowledge. You don't have the data. Their talking points almost mirror that of Roland Martin, who calls black people stupid who say no tangibles, no vote. So they're basically like saying the same thing. You stupid if you don't vote down ballot. And it's obvious that the stance of no tangibles, no vote is a strong stance, because now, just recently, you had Joy Reid talking about it on her show. now I see why certain voices like Tariq are being attacked, because they are realizing these voices are the ones who've been causing all these quote unquote problems for them. This Joy Reid show is basically the beginnings of, like I've been saying, it's the beginning of uh this is white supremacists saying, okay, these are our targets. This is who we're going to go after. Because if you look at the little thing they put up with all the names on it, you can see they mention foundational Black Americans specifically. They mention no tangibles, no vote. Then they threw ADOS in there and a couple other conflating crews in there just to make it seem like they're not targeting us, but they are. So it's becoming obvious what is taking place. Whenever Black people get on code and start demanding things specifically for us, it all of a sudden becomes a problem. Then when Black people say, if we don't get these things, we're not going to show up to the polls, now it's an even bigger problem. These are signs of dissent and growing anger with us being ignored, and rightfully so. Should be our reaction. So I'm just going to be honest. What they are doing is setting the stage to kill us, jail us, under the guise of Black identity extremism. They're already doing that now in the streets. They've been doing that now in the streets, but they're trying to figure out a way to ramp it up. They're trying to figure, because see, they've already been doing such things, like I said. But if you listen to one of my older broadcasts, I brought up how if you tack the label of extremist or terrorist onto a people, you can really go in on them. You know, the killing and massacring of them becomes palatable and okay in the people's eyes. You're not gonna hear no Black Lives Matter no more. It's just gonna be, oh, those are terrorists, we don't care. They did this in Iraq. They do this with the Palestinians. They're doing this now with the Muslims in China. So they are bringing this same plan to us, the Black people of America. And they have to step it up, because they have to keep us in line, because their numbers are getting drastically low. And they see how we are standing up politically and holding the vote, holding back the vote. And this is causing a panic to their system of white supremacy. So they must set the stage of demonization to then further proceed to massacre us on a higher level, period. That's what this is all about. This is all going in line with the words of Gandhi. Even though he was a racist, he made a good point, and this is what we see. He said, first they ignore you, and this is what they've been doing with the benign neglect policy, but also when the past elections went down and Black folk didn't show up, they ignored us. They didn't want to acknowledge that it was Black people who caused those quote unquote problems for them. When the voices of Black media began to take hold and grow over the years, and Black people kept not showing up to the polls, and the voices of the streets began to define our own lineage and define our own ethnic group with that political stance, then the ignoring became, oh, this is a fringe group. Then it became, oh, these aren't real people. They are just Russian bots. Then when Black folk proved, no, we're real and we're not Russian bots or a Russian conspiracy, that's when they began the next phase of laughing at us. Whether it was through movies or these Black boule and white supremacist puppets insulting and talking down to us. Now they on the attack phase. And this is what they are doing now. So it started with Tariq after that New York Times article dropped, and ADOS, they were targeting them too. ADOS came, but then ADOS came and attacked Tariq. And even before that, when he announced his Foundational Black American Conference, they blocked his fundraising. Then he had to put it back up. Then they began to shadow ban him on Instagram. Now he can't even go live on Instagram. And now they are coming at another voice of the Black media, Jason Black. They deleted his YouTube for a moment, then re-uploaded it. And now you have Roland Martin basically calling him out, as well as Antonio Moore calling him out. You know, the next step for that is to start deleting these profiles off of YouTube. You know, YouTube has a new harassment policy they just started, and I promise they put this policy up right after the Black Authority dropped his roasting of Roland Martin. So they got this new harassment policy where you really can't roast people like that no more. Basically, it's some I'm a white supremacist and I say so type stuff. That if we feel like you're roasting somebody too hard or you're talking about somebody too bad, then we could take your video down and delete your whole page. So this is what they're going to start doing. You're going to start seeing this. So overall, you see how Black Americans are being attacked and demonized, especially with this Joy Reid show. Black folks are basically being called stupid and falling for Russian plots. You see, because how is it? So what they're saying is all these black people talking about tangibles, all these black people talking about hold your vote and we need reparations. They can't even think on their own. That's not their thoughts. Those are the thoughts of Russians, because black people are so stupid they can't think of such things on their own. How can they do that? They're stupid. That's Russia. That's somebody else helping them and influencing their minds. They're not intelligent enough to think up stuff like that for themselves. So it's an insult. The guest on the show basically summed it up by saying, whenever you have black people talking about getting something specific for themselves, then you need to be suspicious. This is what she said. Like, what? So basically, everybody else are Russian bots too then, because everybody else wants something for themselves. The gay community, the Mexican community, or Latin community, the white community, they all want something for their vote. They're the same way. So are they Russian bots too because they want something for their vote, or they're so intelligent, they're so much more smarter than us that they can come up with that mentality on their own. So that's why what they want is real deal, and us, no, we're just stupid. We're supposed to continue not getting anything. See, that is disgusting. It makes me sick. So this is all being tied in together to bring about this black identity extremist tag upon us. Then you have cop killing movies dropping, as you know, these cop killing movies dropping to foster the backdrop of the BIE. This movie Queen and Slim, which is a trash movie. No, I didn't see it. I listened to mad reviews. You don't necessarily always have to see a movie to understand that it's trash. I knew Harriet was a trash movie because of all the reviews I heard from the previews I've seen. So stop it. So this movie Queen and Slim, you had and even in that movie, spoiler alert, even in that movie, you had some black kids shooting a cop for no reason. Like that movie was like propagandizing in your mind to start going to kill police. That's what it seemed like it was doing. So, and then you had the other movie Black and Blue. And then there's another movie coming out where you got gangs fighting back against the police. So they're setting the stage for the BIE. And then just recently you had a shooting in Jersey City allegedly done by black Hebrew Israelites. And I'm saying allegedly because if you read all the articles, there's no definite connection whatsoever to the black Israelites. They say, well, we heard them saying things in their apartment that might have been from the black Hebrew Israelites, but we don't know. And let me see something, because I'm looking at these articles right now. So the guy who allegedly did this shooting, the black guy, his name is David Anderson. If you're reading the articles, David Anderson is in and out of jail his whole life ever since he got out of the Army Reserves. So ever since he got out of the Army Reserves, he's been in and out of jail his whole life. He's been getting caught with all kind of powerful weapons over and over again, but nothing was done. He keeps getting out on probation. He keeps getting out with taps on the wrist. That's informant stuff. That's agent stuff. Just like the dude in Philly, some months back. Remember him? He was shooting at the police out in Philly. He was an agent. It turned out that he was an informant, and he was always in and out of jail. So to me, this seems like, and then they said the shooting of this situation, this Jersey City shooting, it started out in a cemetery where Anderson was with some detective or meeting up with some detective, and he shot the detective. And then he hopped in the van with his other girl, with his girlfriend, allegedly girlfriend named Francine Graham, and they drove all the way to a Jewish community and ran inside of a kosher shop and started shooting people. What? That this don't even make sense. And then they're trying to tie that into the Black Hebrew Israelites. But there's no strong connection because every article I'm reading, like alleged, they were alleged Black Hebrew Israelites. And then once they start saying alleged Black Hebrew Israelites, then you get a whole paragraphs about how Black Hebrew Israelites are a black supremacist group. And you see what's going on here? And then as I'm reading the article, they say there was a what do they call it? It was a manifesto style document that was found in their van, but the officials said it was just rambling and gave no clear motivation for the attack. Dude, if you don't read the damn manifesto to us, we can figure that out on our own. Read it to us. That's some suspicious stuff. You can't read it to us? Why can't you read it to us? And then you got so-called neighbors saying they heard stuff. Man, this sounds like, what this sounds like is the dude Anderson was an agent and something went wrong, and so he popped the police and then he ran off somewhere, and I guess he just figured out he gonna wild out. Or maybe one of the other police ran inside the store and he started going in on him. He said, "Y'all not taking me back to jail. I'm not going back to jail this time. I'm taking myself out. Bump it." It sounded like some stuff like that. And so then, since it was probably an undercover sting or an undercover thing going on, and he was an informant and they were sharing information and they didn't want nobody to know, to cover their asses, to cover their butts, they said, okay, well, he was connected with Black Hebrew Israelites and that's why he did this. That's what that's about, because they're an extremist group. They're black supremacist. So they had police running through the streets and everything. They were running up Martin Luther King Boulevard. Like, when I heard that, I was like, oh yeah, I know this is a black dude, because why you got police on Martin Luther King Boulevard? Do you only put Martin Luther King streets, boulevards, avenues in black areas, or in an area where there are some black people? So it's weird. I knew it was some weird stuff going on. Like I've been saying, the black identity extremist propaganda is on and popping. This is all happening like dominoes falling one by one. Don't forget, like I said a while back, dude in Philly was shooting at the police and he turned out to be an informant. And then they said the dude was a Muslim too. So this is now they're adding religious aspect to it while adding the aspect of extremism to it. So now you can't even, so like for instance, I got the double whammy. I'm a Muslim. First off, I'm a black man. So I've already seen this public enemy number one. I'm a Muslim. So they going to add that to the list. And I'm about black empowerment. So they going to add that to the, oh yeah, this nigga really BIE. That's what they going to say about me. So they're adding all these things to it so that you can't even be black and not be a BIE. That's what they're doing. And the reason I say I think they're tying in the Black Hebrew Israelites into this is because they need something to springboard off of to encapsulate all black people. Because listen, and it makes perfect sense. This is my speculation here, people. Black Hebrew Israelites, they break down people into ethnic groups, or they break down all the races into different ethnic groups of the 12 tribes of Israel. And white people ain't a part of it in their belief system. So they're about lineage. They're about bloodline. Who else is on that now? Foundational Black Americans is about lineage and bloodline. Descendants of American slaves is about lineage and bloodline. All of a sudden, black people are claiming their ethnic group. So that's how they're going to tie that in. And You have the black Hebrew Israelites on the street corners. They're being, I used to watch videos of them because one, it was entertaining. Two, they said certain things in there that make sense. I could see how it makes sense, some of the things they were saying. But they were always there. They're a loud group. They preach on the corner. You see what I'm saying? Read, brother. Okay, Matthew 27 verse 3. And God said, like, and then if you walking past looking stupid, you walking past with some high heels and a high skirt on, they're gonna call you out. But I have never heard of them being physically violent ever. But what they're going to do, and this is why they're tying in the black Hebrew Israelites into this violence that just happened in Jersey City, because what they're going to say is, you see how strong these people talk on the street corners? See, this is extremist talk. These Hebrew Israelites, they talk lineage, and they accost people on the streets, and they verbally attack people on the streets just like those black voices online do. They're about lineage too, just like those black people and black voices online are. They're one and the same. And you see what happened? You see how their anger turned into an extremist attack, and they, oh my God, they shot up some Jews. They shot up some Jews people. They did anti-Semitic attacks. So they're extremists. We have to watch them. These are black identity extremists. Anybody online talking about lineage, anybody online talking very loud and strongly, we have to watch them, especially if they're black. That's what this is turning into. Because like I said, also just like Hebrews, they confront people in the streets. Now you have black folk confronting politicians and their black bootlicks in public and calling them out. They're going to tie this in as well. They're going to say, see, just like the Hebrews, they are out in public confronting people. We have to stop that because it can get dangerous. You see, they just shot up a kosher shop. They're going to say, these white supremacists are going to say, you have these faceless people online telling blacks to go confront people. This is a dangerous slope because, as you know, the black Hebrew Israelites do the same thing. You see how they ended up? Eventually, all black Americans will be lumped into the BIE category. Like, you heard what that Dusty Dun chick said on Joy Reid's show. If you're asking for tangibles, they're probably a Russian bot or a Russian influenced person. That was the script that was handed to them to go right in line with the stuff they putting in play as you see going on now. Allegedly, they said they did away with the BIE category, but come on now. What they're going to do is say, well, yeah, we did do away with it, but I mean, we kind of have to bring it back out because these extremists made us bring it back out. So, you see what I'm saying? Just like the shooter in Philly was an informant, I wouldn't be surprised if these cats who did this shooting were agents of some kind, just like I'm just saying. And that this is some type of false flag attack to push the propaganda. And, like I said, I knew it was black folk when they was going up Martin Luther King Boulevard. This is all being done so they can continue to demonize black people, so that when the killing of us turns up, no one will bat an eyelid. Oh, they're black identity extremists. They deserve to die. Like I said, all you have to do is tack on a terrorist label on a people, and you can do whatever you want to them in white supremacy's eyes because now they aren't human. And this is why I don't trust the group ADOS as a group, because they're scared to put it on the line. ADOS was just a group that was started to bring black folk back to the plantations of voting, like I said. When they're speaking of just lineage, I agree with that. But beyond that, as a group, they're scared. They know that black people not voting puts us in a position, as I was just saying, to be demonized and turned into BIE and then physically attacked. What they are trying to do is the same thing these coons try to do. They think that if they appease massa, then massa won't harm them, or at least won't kill them. This is why they bringing us the vote down ballot, down vote, whatever, back down, whatever you want to call it. Because they think, we don't want to make Zaddy mad. And I saw two tweets. Uh, I, what was I saying? I saw two tweets by some folk of this ADOS crowd, and it pretty much proved my point that they're scared. Let me see if I can find it, cause I'm gonna read it to you, and I really want to post these pictures of it, but I'm trying to get this uploaded because I gotta go to work, so I might not upload the pictures to it, but I'm gonna read you the tweets. Okay, so this guy named Patrick, and it has Patrick hashtag Copatch America. He was replying to Breaking Brown. He's an ADOS follower. He says, and this was when the beef between foundational Black Americans and ADOS was going on, and they were talking no tangibles, no vote, and people were calling out the ADOS people for doing the down ballot vote and saying it don't make sense. So this guy says, block all of them. Every foundational Black American, everyone that's talking Black first, etc. person who is speaking negatively about ADOS, our agenda, voting down ballot, etc. Just block them. Not worth the time and energy. They are stubborn and they want to not vote and then have a gunfight with white supremacy. See what I mean? They're scared. And then somebody replied, who was another ADOS follower. His name is anti-meritorious manumission. And then I don't know what the rest of his name says, but he replies, I am ADOS and we want policy. We don't want a gunfight. Innocence dies once the shooting starts. I've had tough conversations with Tone and Yvette and Darity. Tone blocked me. You may too, but to make that comment is irresponsible and dangerous to our community, perhaps on purpose. So these people are scared. I'm not saying, and listen, I'm not saying that Black people should be out here doing attacks on people. I'm not saying that at all. Not saying that at all. But everybody has a right to self-defense, period. That's a God-given right. Everybody has a right to self-defense, but you don't have the right to go out and harm and massacre and kill people. No, for no reason. You don't have a right to do that. So I'm not saying that, but I'm saying these people are scared because they're scared of the consequences that come with refusing to vote. So this is why they're screaming the vote down ballot, because they don't want daddy to get mad at them and spank them. They're scared of daddy's belt and he's going to come spank them if they don't vote. So now we got to all vote. That's what it's about. That's what it's about. They know what comes with not voting, and that's the reason why they running to the polls, because they don't want to get hurt. They don't care about tangibles anymore. But I got news for you, Chief. It don't matter if you a butt-kissing Sambo or the loudest in the Black empowerment, we are still all one big nigga, and they want us all gone. What Nas say? It's elementary. They want us all gone eventually. They just gonna hold off on you for a little while, maybe. Like, you might be a butt kisser, and they'll hold off on killing you for a little while. But they'll still get around to killing you. And this is what you're going to see with the Black Hebrew Israelites. What you're going to see is, first off, they're going to be demonized extremely in the news. They already tried it I think it was like last year when they got into that confrontation with those white kids. But then they're trying to do it now even more, because they have to tack this label onto every Black person. So now what they're going to do is you're going to see the media going hard at them, and it's going to somehow turn into about us. And then, because I just read an article that says these were Black supremacists. Now it went from being Black Hebrew Israelite extremists. Now the articles are saying these were Black extremists. These were Black supremacists. So see how it's turning already? So that you're going to see that. And then you're going to see, because these people are scared, you're going to see hella Black people making fun of them and saying how crazy they are, because what they want to do is show the white supremacists that, hey, I'm not with them, okay? Don't hurt us. See, we're the good niggas. We hate them too. Now look, I don't agree with everything the Black Hebrew Israelites say or does, but they have some valid points. And I'm intelligent enough to separate what benefits me and what doesn't. So you won't be seeing me going all in and making crazy jokes all online and in public, because you're really helping them to demonize black people as a whole. You just don't see it. Come in, stay on code, dummy. See, what black people are going to realize with this whole no tangibles, no vote stuff, they're going to realize that democracy is a hypocrisy. Democracy was not made for us. Democracy is an aristocracy for the most part. Whoever has the most money as a candidate usually wins. And since democracy is an aristocracy, whoever controls the money controls the system and its governance. It was some top level elitists who said that same thing. I care not about what the governing or the people do, just give me control of their money. So all you have to do is put two and two together to see why in the end black folk will realize that democracy wasn't made for them in this system. And then eventually black folk may just stop voting altogether. Especially if you know that those top Satanists who really control the system, we know presidents are selected and not elected. What we get is the dog and pony show to make us feel like we're doing something. And once black people drop out and just focus on building themselves economically, it's going to turn into another Black Wall Street. These white supremacists, like I said, numbers are getting low. And then they see black folks on the rise. They're going to turn their genocide gene on. And they're going to go on a rampage. The solution is to continue doing what we're doing. Strengthening our ethnic group, being on code with one another, building our economic base, continuing to demand tangibles while building our own tangibles, continuing to call out white supremacy wherever it is and whether it's online or in person, as well as to make sure that we let it be known that we are not black identity extremists, and to destroy that narrative and control that narrative so that it doesn't get out of hand. Not because we're scared, no, we're not, but because this is just a way to silence the black voices who are demanding tangibles, and they're trying to demonize such voices. We have to control that narrative. I believe that Islam has the proper way forward, and I call on my black people to study and look into it, but I'm not here to force you. This is something to look into. I believe that to defeat white supremacy, we not only need, us on our side, but to defeat Satan, because this is a system of Satanism, but to defeat Satan and his army, you need Allah on your side. And the only way to have Allah fully on your side is through Tawheed, worshiping Allah alone with no partners. So not only do we need social power, economic power, which is really political power as well, we also need spiritual power. So I have offered some solutions here. To end this, what I see happening next in the near future is the deplatforming of black voices of the new black media under the guise of BIE or some other I'm a white supremacist and I say so logic. Because you already say it with, like I said, YouTube with their new harassment policy, which is talking about, well, if you use language that's too strong about someone, then we get to delete your videos. They're going to use it specifically against the black media who sternly call out these white supremacists and their allies. And, black folk like to roast too. So they're going to use that and say, oh, hey, that's harassment. So, we got to take your page down. The solution to that is to start up our own platforms. I think every major voice of the black media should try to start their own app or have their own web page where they can upload their own content when such things start to occur. But that's all I wanted to hit y'all with. I got to start getting ready to cut out. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell, all that good stuff. This has been another episode of MABIA, Muslim and Black in America. I'm Bilal Abdullah. I'll check in with y'all next time. And peace. Assalamu alaikum.